This is supposed to be a fireside chat. I don't see any fire. So, but these ladies are going to be en fuego with their answers, right?
Yes.
Please have a seat.
Okay.
Okay, so this is Patty, and this is Mo.
Hi, everyone.
Anyone out here have Netflix?
That's all? Okay, come on, let's see, really. Who has Netflix? Okay, I feel much better.
So they together manage production across the English language film and TV series slate for Netflix. And Netflix purchased ABQ Studios in Albuquerque in 2018. They've generated more than $150 million in production spending here on projects that include the Breaking Bad movie El Camino, the Zack Snyder film Army of the Dead, the series Daybreak, Chambers and Messiah. They used 2,000 vendors, employed 1,600 full-time cast and crew who worked over 17,998 days. Next up for them is the Jay-Z-produced Western, The Harder They Fall, with one of my favorite actors, Idris Elba. So, we got a lot going on here. So let me start like this. Why did Netflix take the plunge here? It's obviously a prolific entity, probably doing more production, I would say, than pretty much any studio, film and television. But this is an exceptional thing that's been done to create permanence here. What were some of the variables that made Netflix take the plunge?
Yeah. I think Netflix purchased ABQ right before both Patty and I got there. But long before that, New Mexico has always been a production center with fantastic movies as well as TV shows being produced here. So there was
one. I don't mean to interrupt you, Mo. Can you guys hear her? I think maybe this air conditioning is too loud.
Hello?
Or maybe turn up
Testing,
the microphones if you could.
Yeah?
Very good.
Now,
All right.
better?
Sorry to do that.
No. So I was just saying that, New Mexico already had a robust crew base. It had great stages. It had a film and television history. So it seemed, I think, for Netflix, even though they purchased it right before we got there, just a no-brainer.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, it's got gorgeous locations. I mean, it's got state-of-the-art facilities. The ABQ facilities are beautiful. And you know what else is really good about it is its proximity to Los Angeles.
Yep.
Because a lot of our filmmakers, it's hard. It takes a toll on your personal life, and it's very nice for our talent to be able to, come here on the weekend, during the week, but not have to maybe pull their kids out of school or relocate their families, and they can go back and forth. It's great for our executives.
Yeah. It's a short trip.
And it's a great place to make movies.
So what exactly, when they talk about the commitment that goes into buying a studio, taking control of a studio like that, what exactly is Netflix's commitment and for how long?
Well, we own the studio. We
Right.
actually purchased it. So some of our facilities that we work at, we've master leased them. We might have them for 10 years, but
10
this is
years.
actually a purchase studio. So we plan to be here and continue to invest in the industry and grow the business community as well.
Yeah, we're here for the long run, for sure.
Do you have this kind of arrangement in any other city in the country? Maybe outside of Los Angeles?
Well, we have several other facilities, stages that we have committed to for, say, maybe a 5-year term or a 10-year
10-year.
term, but nothing like this that we actually own.
And
That I'm aware of.
No, we don't own anything anywhere else.
you look around New Mexico, and when this decision was being made, was the thought, well, we can shoot, what, a Western here? Could probably get away with the biblical epic, I suppose, but what was the feeling like? How many different kind of projects did you say we can take them and locate them here?
Well, you wouldn't do, there's so much you can do here, really. I mean, we can do, of course, all the Westerns. In fact, The Harder They Fall is shooting up in Santa Fe at the Tom Ford Ranch, and many other ranches up in that area, and in Diablo Canyon and whatnot. But we can, you can almost do anything here. You can't do tropical, you can't do beaches, you can't do certain things, but you can do lots of desert, lots of war, lots of
dramas. But
and
I
great
say
stages.
yet you can't do tropical because technology is also changing, and there are notions of, and we're experimenting with virtual production, which The Mandalorian did, which is essentially create environments on a stage with LED screens. So never say never that one day we might be doing a pirate movie right here in New Mexico or anywhere in the world, really.
And so basically, from a financial incentive standpoint, it's what, 25% with another 5%? How does that work? And I don't think that it's capped, actually, because you've made this long-term commitment. Can you get in a little bit in terms of financially how this is helping the budgets of these films and television shows?
Yeah, we have a commitment to our members to put the most value on screen as possible. So we don't use incentives. Incentives aren't the only factor or consideration when we're thinking about where we're going to put a project. We're looking at where are the stages, if a film or TV series needs stages, we're looking at where do we have availability for that. Do we have a crew base for that? Is it the right place creatively for our filmmakers and directors? But it is a consideration, and especially on shows that need the help. It's pretty weighted in terms of their consideration.
Yeah.
You're doing a lot of stuff here. So talk a little bit about the crew base and the resources that you need to staff this up. Has that been an issue? Are there plenty here? How are the local crews?
Why don't you talk about the difference from when you were here and what's happening with
Yeah.
Harder They Fall? I think it's definitely growing.
Yeah.
As a result of, as I was saying earlier to someone, we're in a bit of a production renaissance, and it's probably the best time to be in production. And the crew base here is.
Yeah, I was mentioning this to Mo earlier this morning because on Friday I was up in Santa Fe visiting The Harder They Fall, our picture up there. And 8 years ago, I was here producing, 10 years ago and 8 years ago, producing films. But 8 years ago, I was producing the movie The Avengers, and we did it here at the ABQ studios. And we probably had a good 100 plus technicians housed that we brought in from LA, that we had to bring in from LA. And I was speaking with the production designer on The Harder They Fall, and he's using all local crew now. So he couldn't say enough about his carpenters and his painters and his welders, and that 8 years ago was not the case. So that just it gives you an indication of how much these technicians have come along, and they can support real major projects now.
Tell us a little bit about The Harder They Fall. Is that a period Western? Give us a sense of that.
It's funny that you ask that, because I just sent the director an email about that and said, I feel like we're making the Hamilton of Westerns. It's going to be really cool, and it's just not going to be like any Western you've ever seen. And what they've done, like, I don't want to spoil it, but what they've done to the Tom Ford Ranch is just not what you will expect. So it's going to be a really good time. I'm really looking forward to seeing the dailies on this project.
And how long of a shoot is that? And is it all here?
It's all here, all up in Santa Fe, in the areas that I mentioned previously. I don't know how many days it is. I think it's about 65 shoot days. Start shooting next week.
And, I got my guy, Matt Grobar, out here taking notes for Deadline. And I wonder, is it possible maybe we can spill a little news his way about some maybe some interesting projects that you're going to be bringing here next?
Yep. Coming very soon is Stranger Things Season 4, which will shoot in New Mexico. It's based out of Atlanta, but it's going to have a significant portion of the series. I can't reveal anything, but will be shot here in New Mexico this year.
Wow. All right, well, so I watched that show kind of ravenously, and so last we heard, David Harbour's character, Hopper, after kind of turning into Rambo, I think he was in Russia. So are you recreating Russia in New Mexico?
I cannot reveal, or I will be...
If she told you that.
Yes, I would be disappearing into the witness protection program. I cannot say.
Well, now, so the show has shot where, in Atlanta before?
Yep, it's always just been based in Atlanta. Season 4 is bigger and bolder and more intricate than ever, and so this is the first time the show will be traveling beyond Atlanta.
What were some of the variables that made you guys decide to relocate it and to bring it here? Obviously, you have confidence in shooting something so big here, but what were some of the variables that prompted this?
I think mostly because we have the studios here, so we have this state-of-the-art facility that's available to us, and it lent itself to the story, which, again, I feel silly. I can't really say, but New Mexico
They won't
itself.
tell. Go ahead.
On Deadline, really.
Nobody reads that.
Yeah.
So Netflix, as I said, probably makes more movies and series than just about any other studio. Do you think that, how big, what would be the capacity in terms of productions that you can set here in a calendar year, do you think? And will you be growing these means further as we move forward?
That's a hard one to answer. I mean, because it depends on the needs of each specific project. So if I have 2 films that only require 2 sound stages each, and then we have sound stages that can go over for Mo
for a series,
then we could, do that. But sometimes we have films that need 6 sound stages each, and so it just sort of depends on the individual needs of a project.
Yeah, I mean, and the same goes for series. Something like a Stranger Things can take a lot of capacity and suck up a lot of crew. So then if I have a smaller drama, we'd have to sort of space it properly in order to take advantage of our studios and of New Mexico as a whole.
And one of the things that's nice is that Mo and I have worked since we've been here at the company pretty closely in having a sense of film and television and our doc series and our physical production management teams aren't siloed from each other. So we now have a way of seeing the slate across all kind of content verticals. And then that way we can connect with each other and work out the best decisions for the company, basically.
And we like hanging out with each other.
We do.
And after our careers are done, we might start like a sitcom or something.
Or a band. It might be a band.
And of course, you'll shoot it here.
Yeah, of course we would.
How much time do you spend here now, two of you?
I haven't spent as much time here because of I got to Netflix just before we started sort of filming here, our series. So I'll hopefully visit for Stranger Things. And Patty spent quite a lot of time here.
Yeah, because I shot Thor up in Santa Fe and Avengers here in Albuquerque. So I've actually lived here for a couple of years, actually.
Wow.
I quite like it.
And we kind of don't want to leave at this point. We just don't want to travel.
Yeah, it seems pretty nice. Give us a sense of the feedback that you get from your filmmakers, from your actors who have been able to shoot projects here. I mean, it must be a godsend just being an hour and a half away from Los Angeles. But give us a sense of the reaction and how it's going so far, if you could.
Well, when I was up in Santa Fe, they were just having the time of their life. The movie has taken over. I don't know the exact name of it, but it's like the Garson campus up in Santa Fe. It was some type of school. I don't know if it was a junior high or a high school or elementary school, but I think it was like a high school, college. So that has become this great production campus for them. They've got every department working out of that college. The director is a songwriter. James Samuel is the director. His brother is Seal. And so James has taken one of the buildings and turned it into a recording studio, and there are people coming in and out of there that, like, I can't say who they are, but he's laying down tracks all the time in his free time, and his friends are flying in and out, and it's easy for them to get to, and they're all under the radar, so it's kind of a great thing. You know, they can all come in and sort of be anonymous in that way, which is really nice. So they're all having a lovely time. Everybody's really enjoying Santa Fe, and they're getting up to Taos, and they're getting down to Albuquerque, and I don't know if anyone's made it to Las Cruces, but they're having a good time.
And Mo, how about you? What kind of reaction are you getting?
Well, I know that our producer of Godless actually bought a home here. So there's the reaction. It was, I think he just loved it so much. And yeah, we have just had the most positive reaction from both our cast and crew. It's a really welcoming space and a welcoming community. So it's really easy for our cast and crew to work here, honestly.
Excuse me. And trying to think, one of the things that impressed me in talking with the people who are basically enticing productions to come here is their creation. They're linking academics to their colleges to production and kind of creating a feeder system. As you guys considered to be permanently based here, how helpful is that to have young people basically being being educated and then being funneled into because, like you say, you do a lot of projects. Has that helped much?
Well, that would be interesting to track, actually. But what I can say is that we need to continue to grow the crew bases. So we are working in collaboration with NBC Universal on some technical training for kids coming out of college and whatnot. That program is being developed. It's not quite ready to go yet.
Fruition, yeah.
I know that we've also been doing some outreach with local high schools. Zach and Debbie Snyder, for instance, invited many, I think it was primarily young women, to the Army of the Dead set. And these were young women that had expressed an interest in filmmaking and are actively involved in either their video clubs at their high schools or whatnot. And they came to the ABQ studios and spent a day with the filmmakers, had lunch with Zach, saw every department. And the point was that we want to start to expose kids that are really interested in communication arts we want to start to show them what can be possible for them and help guide them into those kinds of paths.
Yeah, and then in certain fields like visual effects and animation, there's sort of a diminishing resource pool of artists. So people coming out of college, that's sort of the perfect group to start studying visual effects artistry or animation artistry. So, if this level of production keeps up, we're actually going to run out of talent globally. So it is kind of an opportunistic time for everyone to reach out to colleges and to educators and have them think about this industry as a whole, because there's so many facets to it. It's not just the filming crew, but everything that happens in post-production, everything that happens in animation, and certainly in visual effects.
Well, you mentioned Army of the Dead, and that's Zack Snyder who did the big Batman versus Superman and Justice League and those in 300 and those kind of movies. What is that like, basically, what does that look like, an epic zombie? Where did that shoot? Did that shoot in the streets? What were the challenges there?
Well, we shot that. They had a lot of big sets that we built at the ABQ studios, but then what's great about the Albuquerque studios is all the land that's around it as well. So we were able to sort of stay close to our base, but build out several exterior sets on the property that surrounds it. It's always tricky here with the wind, I'll give you that. But so we did that, and then we did have a unit that went to, we shot a lot of plates in Vegas, but we also had a unit that went into Atlantic City. And there was an interior casino that we were able to take over that was going through restoration. So we kind of pieced it together amongst those three locations.
If you had to look forward, aside from the crews, it seems like with these kind of, a government, an administration gets behind the film incentives, and then sometimes the political winds change. As you guys look into the future, what are some of the challenges that these New Mexico officials should be considering that you guys will require if you are going to continue to grow productions here at the rate that beyond the rate that you're already doing them?
I go back to education of crew, and really building that infrastructure here. As I said before, we're here for the long run because we have bought a studio here. So what may limit us in the future, and NBC, you, and others, is not having access to crew. What's nice about New Mexico is that we can fly people in from Los Angeles, but the ideal is always local. So I think that would probably be the biggest challenge right now that I see in the next 5 years is crew.
I would agree with Mo, crew for sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But I do agree with you. And it for particular projects, the incentives program is going to continue to be needed and valued.
And how is it, because presumably when you have this many productions, you probably grow beyond Albuquerque. How is it, the coordination with, say, Las Cruces or Santa Fe in terms of you being able to tap into other areas of New Mexico for your stuff?
It's pretty good. I mean, I don't know Las Cruces, and I don't think we've had any projects go into Las Cruces yet.
No, Godless shot in Santa Fe, and then everything else shot here in Albuquerque.
So maybe that's an area that we as Netflix need to explore a little bit.
Yep.
But in terms of, Santa Fe is very close to Albuquerque. It's easy to, if we need to, get crew down from Santa Fe into Albuquerque, vice versa. And even on the Avengers, we were driving. We did some locations up in Santa Fe, even though the movie was based down here. So it's a nice, easy location to get to and to shoot back and forth between.
Interesting. Well, and so I see Hopper, David Harbour's character, and Winona Ryder's character. They have to get together. What do you got on that? I'm teasing.
You're relentless. You know I will no longer exist if I reveal these very, very tightly held plot points.
I'm kidding you. You guys have pretty much answered every question that I have. Is there any other advice from the people sitting here and the people who are basically trying to court productions that you might convey as they continue to lean into this? Looking at it, this is my first time in New Mexico. I have to say it just feels very positive and constructive. And, between you guys and NBC, you and these long-term commitments really feels very valuable. And we talked to actors all morning. They love it here. Is there anything else useful that maybe you can convey to keep this role going?
I think, when you think about, you said this earlier in the introduction, but when you think about the impact that $150 million has to a community or a city or, a state, we want to keep that going, but we also want to, be good business partners with the community. So we're on the Albuquerque Board of Directors for their Chamber of Commerce. We are investing in the mayor's One Albuquerque Fund. We're trying to support some of the local film festivals and doing outreach with the schools and communities. I think all of that is important, and we will try to continue to, invest our resources in those areas.
Yeah, and I would say for the community here, just keep on keeping on, because it's just a really wonderful place to film. That's at least the feedback we always get from our cast and crew. And I would ask if there's, because we're sort of a feedback culture at Netflix, if there's stuff that you need from Netflix to be doing at ABQ, to give us that feedback and say, my experience as a cast or crew member was great, but if you could have only done this, it would have improved. We're actually a company that's open to that.
Well, I would recommend that everyone watch the new season of Narcos, and I think I've tortured these ladies enough. So I appreciate you sharing and in our little fireside chat.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.